marry me?
It was like an out-of-body experience.
It's to me. Cyclone. One more time.
Oh my God, are you kidding?
This is happening in real life.
I felt so happy.
Tell me something I don't know,
It
Dad.
really surprises you.
Absolutely. So I can see you're welcome back.
I want to get married in 6 months.
This is true love. I think this happens every day.
Welcome to Dear Future Bride. Today's guest is Eva Hendricks. She is the lead singer of Charly Bliss, a musician and a performer who spent most of her life on stage touring, creating, and living a pretty non-traditional life. She married her partner Callum in Byron Bay, with a big chunk of the planning happening while she was on tour across the US. This episode is about what actually happens behind the scenes, the pressure, the mess, the unexpected emotion, and the decisions that stick with you long after the day is over. Welcome, Eva.
Thank you so much for having me, Kiera.
I'm so excited to have you on. I'm going to cut straight into it. You spend so much of your life on stage performing, giving people a version of yourself that's polished, loud, and bright. Did any part of you feel like you were performing on your wedding day too, or did it feel like a rare moment where you could just not be on?
That's such an astute question, and it's something I really talked about with my therapist a lot leading up to the day. Were kind of the similarities between the pressure to perform on this really big day of your life, and simultaneously I was on tour up until 2 weeks before our wedding day, and just kind of those similar feelings of like, oh gosh, like I have to be on, I have to be perfect, I have to be polished. And I really didn't want to feel like that on our wedding day. I didn't want to be on and miss the actual messiness of it, and like the high emotions, the low emotions, all of it. So it was something I was really thinking about a lot leading up to the wedding day, and was really, really nervous about. On the actual day, I felt so happy. I felt so like my 8-year-old self was what I kind of kept saying. I kept going back and forth between saying I feel like I'm 8 years old and feeling like I was attending my own funeral, but in like a beautiful way. I mean that in the most positive sense. Like it was kind of this like, I can't think of another day of your life where you're surrounded by every person you love, who loves you, who you never get to be with, but they're all in the same room. And you're kind of like, I felt like I was kind of like hovering above the whole thing. Just like, I don't know. It was like an out of body experience, but no, I did feel so myself on the day. And I laughed, I cried, I spilled stuff. I was fully myself. Yeah, it was perfect. But I really had to kind of prep for that beforehand to make sure that I wasn't just gonna like skate through it and not feel it.
And your videos as well show you just in this ecstatic, just happy vibe. When I looked at all of the footage, it was just amazing to see.
I felt like that. Yeah, it was so special. And also, like, honestly, I was really worried about my husband because we're very different. I'm very outgoing and social. He's way more shy and quiet. And I was really nervous for him on the day that it was going to be a really overwhelming experience for him, that, because it's really like a 12-hour day of pure socializing. I remember before I walked down the aisle, grabbing my friend Morgan and being like, can you check on Cal? Is Cal okay? Like, is he okay? And she was like, I hate to break it to you, babe, but like, you're freaking out way more than he is. He's fine. Take a breath.
But yeah, and it's surprising that it kind of flips. Like I remember with my wedding, I do this for a living, and I really became super internal and stressy on the day, and Dane was fine, and he was really stressy in the lead up about the attention being on him.
Wow.
So it's funny how you think that it's going to be a certain way and it just flips. And it really surprises you emotionally. And it's almost like that.
That was the same case.
Yeah, it's almost like that old show, This Is Your Life, like how they play like snippets of your highlights and that sort of thing. It really is an out-of-body experience.
It truly was. Because I've been to so many weddings. I was like, oh, it's just going to be a big party. And it is a big party, but it's also like so emotional. It feels like a Christmas Carol, that thing where like you go through like different periods of your life. Exactly. And you're like, whoa, like it felt like that so much. And I kept just looking at Callum and thinking, how is this happen? And especially because so many people were there from America. I think we had like 50 or 60 guests from America, and seeing them in Byron Bay. And like, how did this happen? This is really,
These are all my people.
How did they get here? Yeah.
So did you feel like the day went super quick because you were on that high, or did it kind of almost slow down time?
I thought that the second I got there, it would start to feel like time was moving really, really fast. But I got there and we were getting ready and I was like, wow, this is all actually moving like at a really beautiful pace. And I was there with all of my best friends and it was so fun. And we got ready on site and I'm so glad that we did because honestly, there was so much coordinating leading up to the wedding and especially with flying people over from America. How is this person going to get here? And how is this person going to... I was so happy that I could just be at the venue. I shut my phone off. No one could reach me. It was really, really nice. I had a few friends who were monitoring my phone. I knew that would really stress me out. Yeah, that part felt like so leisurely. But the second people were like, oh, the buses just got here. Like, Cal's here too. Everyone's here. They're having I started freaking out. And then from then, I don't even know what I was freaking out. I think it was like that funeral feeling. There's so few moments in your life. You know, I met Cal, I didn't realize, oh, I'm meeting my husband. This is like a monumental moment in my life. I was like, I'm about to have a one-night stand in Australia. This is great. There's so few moments where you're like, knowing on your wedding day, this is your wedding day. It's happening. You're going to remember this for the rest of your life. That, I think, was just so overwhelming for me. The feeling, one of the biggest moments of my life is happening, and I'm aware that this is that moment. Was really intense. And then from there, everything just happened so quickly. It was like, I couldn't believe when the night was ending and they were like, it's time to get on the bus. I was like, it's so surreal.
It's weddings and birth, I think. Like those are the two like monumental, like this is happening in real life. It's crazy. And that's what I say to couples all the time. You know, the morning feels like you've got all the time in the world and it feels like it almost drags.
Yes.
And I, you know, have been to a million weddings and my own, I felt it from the bride's perspective. I'm like, oh my God, we've got so much time. And as soon as everyone starts arriving,
Totally.
it's like, oh, like all day, just one thing after another.
Totally. We also had a really funny, I mean, I told you from the day we met, my mom and I are so close. We're true besties. My mom is also very anxious like me, and there will be something on the day that she will be panicking about. And I just know that. And the thing that ended up happening, which was so funny, really the only drama of the day happened while we were getting ready, which was, it's very sweet. Basically, I had family who couldn't make it from America to come to Australia for the wedding. And they decided they were going to get up in the middle of the night to watch the wedding. And my mom paid to have this like live stream videographer come and live stream the wedding, which was so sweet so that they could watch along while the wedding was happening. But my mom, I still don't know how this happened, but while we were getting ready, somehow it becomes clear that my mom has told so many people the wrong start time to the wedding. It's really funny now, but at the time it was really, really stressful. And I could just see the look, because I know her so well. Like my mom is panicking. My sisters-in-law are like trying to calm her down. It's like, no one wants me to fully know the extent of this. It's like so that was really, yes, the morning felt like it went on forever. Between, you know, we're getting ready, everyone's looking so beautiful. I also weirdly decided to get in my dress really, really early. So I got really hot and was walking around feeling, because my dress was enormous and a total delight, like a princess dress. And it was so fun to wear, but it was also very, very hot. There are a lot of photos of my friends like lifting up the skirts and like fanning my butt sweat.
It's so funny, like with mom, like you've got one job, like come on, the time.
Girl, I like went back and triple checked. I was like, it has always been 3 p.m., girl. It never changed. She's like, you told me 4:30. I was like, I never told you. It ended up being absolutely fine and it all worked out. And luckily my sisters-in-law, we had talked a lot. And I think you had really recommended this to me and everyone kept saying to me, like, have a few people in your life who are like rock solid, who can just take over when things inevitably will go wrong. And they did just completely. My sisters-in-law know my mom so well. It's not their first rodeo. They were able to kind of completely make it all work. It was fine.
So were you completely oblivious to this on the day?
No, I wish I was a little more oblivious, but I did what I had to do. I got on my phone for 2 seconds, and then my sisters-in-law were like, get off your phone, we've got it. So I freaked out for a minute. I went off by myself because also it's just like intense. You're always around so many people and everyone's looking at you be like, it's the big day. And you're kind of like, it's so intense. I went off by myself for a second, took a few deep breaths and was like, this doesn't matter. It's fine. And Callum and I kept saying to each other, the only thing that matters is you and I are getting married. We're so in love. Everyone is here and healthy. Everything else that happens doesn't matter. So I kind of just tried to reground myself in that, but I was like, Mom, fuck you, like, for a minute. And then I got over it.
That was the worst of it. I think you did pretty well.
Big nothing. Big nothing. It was so fun. It's very funny looking back on it now.
So you were on tour while you were planning the wedding. How did you manage to multitask without completely burning out? Or did you burn out?
I totally burned out. I was so miserable. And I think that was the hardest. Yeah, it was so hard. Actually, the logistics of it were okay. I was able to send a bunch of emails from the van and everyone in my band was trying to be really supportive of me. But I think just this pervasive feeling of this is not the mindset I want to be in leading up to the wedding was the hardest part for me. And I was doing a lot of therapy and crying a lot in therapy leading up. There's a really funny story. Oh my God. So much went into me figuring out like how I was going to get my hair done and my extensions in before I flew back to Australia. Because the woman who does my hair, who's my great friend Gloria, is in New York and she's the one person I really trust to do my hair. And then my friend Stephanie was going to meet me somewhere on tour to put in my extensions. There was so many things like that had to like come together at a very last second kind of way. And somehow it did. I got my extensions in Arizona. My friend Stephanie came to the venue at 9 a.m. We stayed there for so many hours while she burned extensions. I mean, very thoughtfully melted extensions into my hair and it looked beautiful. The next day, and you know, anyone who's ever had extensions put in, it takes so long and I'm really bad at sitting still for that long. And so I was so happy we did it. It took so much coordinating. The next day, we're at a McDonald's because that's the only place. We're in the middle of nowhere. And Dan, who plays bass in my band, is opening a packet of ketchup. And somehow, defying the laws of physics, it explodes into my extension, just like all over my hair. And I just burst into tears. I was like, I'm leaving the door. I ran to the bathroom. I was sobbing. I was like, texting Cal. I was like, I quit music forever. I just want to go home. And then I look up and I like catch my reflection in the McDonald's mirror and I just burst out laughing. And I was like, this is just too funny. I can't believe this is my life. And I think you and I were even DMing a bit, like I was eating all this gas station food. It's like 2 weeks before the wedding. I'm like, what? Like, how is this my life? So honestly, if I could go back and do anything differently, it would be, I wish that timing didn't work out in that way. It wasn't supposed to. Just through like a series of mishaps, it ended up being that the tour had to be at that time. I wish I could have been at home leading up to it, being with Callum. I think so many of the things we had to do, I think we probably thought a lot more just because it's so hard, like the time difference even. I would do stuff during the day for me, but that would be while he was sleeping. And then he would wake up like right before I'd start sound checking. Everything was so much harder than it had to be. And I wish that hadn't been happening. But also I do think in a weird way, it led me to a place where I was able to enter kind of more of a mindset of like, fuck it. I have no real control anyways. I've just got to give myself over to this experience. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
And in the lead up, did you try and get as much done before you went on tour? Or did you find that you were trying to cram everything in earlier? Or did you find you were still trying to do seating plans and things while on the bus?
My goal was that things would be completely ironed out before tour started. I think for a few reasons, it didn't end up totally working out that way. My husband also works in film, so he was working crazy hours while I was preparing for the tour. So honestly, there were a lot of things that we were trying to coordinate, but it's very hard when he's working because he works like 14-hour days. It's so intense, and that made it kind of difficult to iron everything out. And also, I think just who I am, I'm a very anxious person. Even if I had finished everything on my to-do list, I would have found new things to obsess over. I would have created new problems. I think that was the intention, but then it didn't end up working.
I remember when we had our catch up when you finally came back to Australia and you were like, I'm so over drinking and I'm so over gas station food and just living the rock star life. It was just like coming into
Yes.
obviously
Yes,
like
that was very much it.
yeah, like most brides are completely the opposite where they're on a health kick and the whole self-care vibe and you were just like coming off the bus going,
That was so hard for me. What ended up being really funny was I got so sick the second I got home, and I got food poisoning or like some kind of like gastro. So honestly, Cal was like, well, you got your cleanse. It's like everything
right
suddenly,
side.
Kelsey's like trying the dress on me. He's like, wow, you are tiny. Like what?
When you imagine your wedding before it started, how close was the final version to when the actual day happened?
Honestly, I mean, it was perfect. It was better than I could have even imagined it, which is so funny because I have a really clear memory of all the stress leading up to it. And when I look back through my phone of where I was the week before and what was even going through my mind, I know that that happened, but the actual day, perfect. Exactly perfect. The one thing that was different was I thought I would be more drunk on my wedding day. I do really love to dance and drink and party and whatever. And I honestly, by the end of the night, there had just been so much crying, so much upheaval. It was so beautiful. And I'm not religious, but religious experience. It was just like I'd been like reborn or something. That by the end of the night, in every photo, I'm just like pounding Pellegrino. I was so dehydrated. And everyone afterwards, we like got back to Byron on the bus and they were like, we're going out. And I was looking at Callum. I cannot go out. I thought I was going to be out till like 4 a.m. I could not. Back to the hotel. We were going back to the hotel. I'm so tired. But yeah, that was the only really big difference.
You lived such a rock star lifestyle. Obviously, in the lead up, it wasn't the priority to get drunk and party.
It's like I've done plenty of partying. Like the other funny thing that was like a mild disaster leading up was like because because I had just been on tour and like half of the people, my bandmates obviously were there. You always get sick on tour. So everyone from my band, Charly Bliss, showed up with like horrible colds. And we slowly, one by one, got everyone at the wedding sick in the weeks leading up. So poor Callum was really ill, honestly, on our wedding day. He was taking decongestants, poor guy. And that was another thing I was worried about, but like you would have never known it on the day. He was so happy and had so much fun. But no, he was able to drink. He partied with his friends. He had a blast. I really was so worried about how he would go. And he ended up having the best day. We both just talk about it. Honestly, going into the wedding, we felt very like, do we even need to do this? Like, but the real reason we wanted to do the wedding was that idea of like, there is probably no other instance where we can get everyone we love in one room. That's just never going to happen with my family being from America, him being from Australia. Like it just is never going to be possible. And honestly, we went into it with this thing of, it's about us, but it's more so about like the other people and bringing everyone together. And it's so funny because while that was, yes, like such a highlight for me, I think I was honestly blown away by how romantic it was and how profound. And, everyone says like, it's about you two as a couple. And yes, of course it was. But I think we were both just blown away by how much closer we felt, even though we already felt very much married before we got married. It's a funny thing.
And that comes back to that out of body experience. I felt exactly the same. Like in this euphoric mindset of, oh my God, this is amazing. And yes, it's all beautiful and fluffy, but it's also when people say it's your day and all of that's so true. but it's just as much your family's day of coming together and celebrating the two of you. You're so much in other people's lives that it is that very rare moment where you get to have all of those people together and celebrate the two families coming together and your love. And it's just this amazing high. Incredible. Everyone talks about the big day and it's going to be the most important moment of your life. Did you ever find that that pressure felt ridiculous in the lead up?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess what I was saying earlier is exactly that. I already felt married to Callum. The idea that it would be the most important day of my life. And I think because my job is to wear a tutu and dance around in front of everybody, I felt like another day at the office. But no, I think the funniest thing about the wedding and what I try to tell my friends who are planning their wedding, like, no matter how cynical I felt the whole time, and especially so much love to Byron Bay, but it's so like the spot, to get married. And it felt so bridal and so whatever. And I felt very, this is so not me. But I keep joking to Callum all the time. I feel so like basic with how much in the end I'm like, I fucking loved our wedding. It was the best day of my life. Like I hated people saying that to me leading up to it. But now that it's happened, yes, it was the most important day of my life. And to the point where obviously if you hear about someone, if a couple that gets divorced or something, that's so sad. But since we got married, if that's a plot point in a TV show or something, I'm sobbing because I'm like, people don't get it. Once you've had a day like that, then being turned into something sad and negative, this insanely beautiful day, this profound ritual of joining two people together, all these things leading up, I would have been like, whatever. Now I'm like, oh my God, if a couple didn't work out after a wedding, that's a tragedy. That is the saddest thing I can think of. So yes, I totally. And I've been turned into like a total Pollyanna about weddings. I think they're the best thing in the world.
And scream it from the rooftops.
I will. Every single one of my friends, I'm like, no, you get married and you get married.
And you don't even know. You don't know what it's like.
Exactly. You don't even know. I didn't even know. And it's so funny because, and I feel so silly saying all this, like, by the way, it's not like I was scowling at every wedding I've been to. I sob at every wedding. I don't know why I thought I would be different. Like, oh, at my wedding, I'm not like part of all this, but I couldn't have been more wrong. I'm so wedding pilled, so bridal pilled. I love all this stuff so much.
It's almost like you get so sick of seeing how fluffy it is when you look at it from the outside. And as I was saying off air, it's such a curated industry. And so it can really taint you going in. Oh, that's not real. How can you possibly have that high and just be so in love and so magic? And it's a thing. It really is. You get into this meditative state of euphoria where it's just so magical.
It's so true. And you're so right. Honestly, I haven't even posted on my Instagram our wedding photos yet. I love them. I look at them every day. But there's a part of me that I do feel conflicted about exactly what you're saying. When weddings always get presented as these polished, oh, you just see the photos and everyone looks so beautiful. And yes, it was that, but it was also so deeply emotional. I can't even describe what the day was actually like and like the emotional upheaval. I feel like that sounds negative, but it's just so deeply emotional that I almost don't even know how to talk about it or like present it to the world because I feel protective of this sacred day in my life. And yeah, that's why I think it's so important to talk beyond my hair was perfect and my eyebrows were perfect. It's like, well, but it was so much more than that.
Did any part of the day specifically catch you off guard emotionally?
I mean, the whole thing, trying to think, the little moments that I always come back to when I think about the day are seeing my brother and my dad coming back to say hi before I walked down the aisle was so emotional. Having all my friends really calm me down when I was hyperventilating before I walked down the aisle. So special seeing Cal for the first time. Also, our celebrant was my cousin, who's like closest friend in the world. And just looking at her and being like, oh my God, like this person I've known my entire life, who's like closest person in the world to me. It's like marrying me and Cal and looking back at like the whole crowd of everybody standing up there. But I would say the moment that really was so magic was we had our friends sing our first dance song. And it was kind of a detail that came together very, very last minute, in part because my friend Rafaela was on tour with us. She and her soon to be husband, Jake, produced our album, our band's album. So there are these people who had this big connection to my music life, but they didn't really know whether they were going to do it like with a guitar or to a karaoke track or whatever. And I honestly didn't even know I was just kind of like, I can't, no more details. They're going to figure it out. And they did. But even up to last minute, I have no idea how this is going to work, but I guess they're going to sing this song. And they did. And it was so beautiful and fun. And it was me and Cal on the dance floor. And I don't know, we were mostly nervous about that, but it ended up being such a special moment. We were singing to each other and we were both crying. And then everyone joined us on the dance floor. It was so amazing. That caught me off guard, how amazing that would be.
I remember in the lead up, you were just like, maybe they will, maybe they don't. I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got the backup just in case, and we had the
Like,
equipment
okay.
ready to go. But it's those small surprises on the day as well. Like you can't structure every single thing on the day. Like you can to a point, but you have to have it evolve naturally, and it's not a performance, and things will go out of plan. And it's just having those backup plans in place and not stressing about it. It's those brides that I find that come to me and they're like, this is my Pinterest board and I want it to look exactly like that. And it might be like this Tuscan villa and at a venue that doesn't look anything like it. And it's such an unrealistic expectation of all of these things that when you go into it, and it's usually like the type A people that are really pedantic about the details, it's so important to let it be and flow naturally and have the team there to back you up as well. If you have a strong team to pick up the pieces and adjust things, and it's a well-oiled machine if you have the right support, and then you can just trust in that. But if that falls apart and you have the bride that's stressing about it, then yeah, it goes to shit pretty quickly.
Right. Then it goes to shit. Yeah.
Exactly. And so now that it's all done, what's the one thing that you could tell somebody just getting started and has no idea what's coming?
I mean, well, the first thing, because I truly did have a friend reach out to me recently and she was like, I'm losing it. What's one thing you'd recommend? She's like, did you have a wedding planner? I don't think I need that. And I was like, you must. I was like, you must have a wedding planner. You must have a wedding planner. And our venue insisted that we hire you, and not you specifically, but insisted that we hire a wedding coordinator. And I felt at the time, I was like, I don't think I need that, like whatever. And thank God that we had you. I really think I know it would have been a disaster. And I think it's exactly what you said. Mom and I had talked about it and we were like, we're going to plan up until this point and then we're going to leave it up to the universe. And the universe meant you, Kiera. And whatever happens beyond that, it's fate. So I think that if we hadn't had you on board, we couldn't have ever hit that point where I'm just going to let it go and trust that we have a really great team in place and that this is all going to work out. That I think was great. I'm trying to think of like two things I regret from the day. And one of them is really easy. One of them is I wish I had brought a comfortable pair of shoes to change into. It's really easy. I wish I had brought like a pair of slides. Just because I ripped off my shoes pretty early on in the night, but then a glass broke on the dance floor and I was like, I want to keep dancing, but I can't put my shoes on. My feet are bleeding. So I wish that's my other thing. Bring an extra pair of shoes.
A wedding planner and good shoes. I loved being a part of your journey. I just vibed with you both so quickly. As soon as we spoke for the first time, all throughout the planning, you were just absolute sweethearts to work with. And I think of you guys all the time. But I'm so grateful.
You are always like, can we do it again?
I know. And that's the thing. You can't get it back. You have one shot at it. And so many people say it's just one day. And yes, that's true. It's one day, but it's the day. Like you cannot get that day back and you can't relive it over and over. And I think all the time I would love to have my wedding again and again and again because it was so much fun and the feeling. So investing in that day is so important. Yes, it's money, but money comes and goes. And this is just the one time that you get to just go all in with exactly what you want to do.
It's so true. And I think one piece of advice that I got kind of early on, my oldest brother, who actually, it's complicated, but wasn't able to attend the wedding, but he is very, very type A, hates spending money unnecessarily, very financially sound person. And early on in the planning process, he was like, Eva, the one piece of advice I can give you about planning your wedding is, and he's like, I know this is going to mean a lot coming from me. He's like, it's really expensive and you spend a lot of money and it's going to start to feel ridiculous. He's like, but honestly, now that it's over, I wish I spent even more money on it. He's like, I could never have known going into it how important that day actually was going to be and how much it was going to like live in my memory. And it was such a special day for our family, for everyone. He's like, I wish I had just let go more about the money and thought less about it and just enjoyed more. And for someone like that, like, you know, me saying that to someone means nothing because I'm like, yeah. But you know, my brother who's so like does not spend money unnecessarily is very, very responsible. Him saying that to me was a big like, okay. And it's true. You know, I remember when COVID really hit and I was separated from my family for such a long time. Weirdly, one of the things I thought about most and was so grateful for was my brother's wedding. We didn't even realize at that moment how rare it is to be everyone together in one room, so happy, loving on each other, celebrating something as pure as, oh my God, my brother's in love. And so much of life is bad stuff. I don't mean that in like a really negative, but you really don't get to stop very often and really be like, wow, life is so precious and special. And weddings are kind of events in life that really force you to stop and kind of look at things from a wider lens. And yeah, I wish that for everyone.
Do you wish that you spent more money on your wedding?
I think we spent the perfect amount. But honestly, I was really stressed about the money of it. And then tell you what, I don't think about it at all anymore. I'm like, worth it. Worth every penny is the way that I feel about it. I loved my dress. I loved my hair and makeup. I wanted to look like a feral fairy and I felt like I achieved it. The food was great. Callum looked hot. It was amazing.
You looked like a fairy princess. I loved your dress. I was so obsessed. And as soon as you told me that you were wearing a giant pink dress, I was like, I have to get a content creator in for this because missed opportunity if we don't. And it was so worth it. And watching that footage back, it was so emotional. And because I could see the high that you were on and it was powerful. It was just oozing out of you. It was just so beautiful to live it again, watching that footage. So it was, you know, anyone that's on the fence about content creation or videography, thinking that you don't need it, because you guys weren't getting a videographer. And that's why I stepped in and said, hey, would you mind if I brought one on board? Looking back at that footage now, would you have regretted not having somebody take footage of the day?
Yes. Oh yeah. I'm so grateful to you for making that happen. And 1,000%. It's like, it's over. And even just like clips that people posted, 30-second stories that people posted on their Instagram. I'm like, like I have a million screen recordings of all of them because any little detail that I could never have realized how much I was going to be like, oh my God, I wish the entire day was recorded. It was so. And then luckily we had a friend who brought a Super 8 camera and he filmed the whole night. He came with us and got ready and was filming the whole time. And it's this beautiful old vintage film. And he, as a wedding gift to us, edited it all together. And that is like one of the most precious things that I have in my possession. We watch it all the time because you have your memories, but also it's kind of like, we've said over and over, a day it feels like this huge emotional blur. And there's like moments that you're like, oh, I remember, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. But then also it's so beautiful being like, oh, right, that's what my friends were wearing. And look how happy they look. There's so many little details. You can't be everywhere at once. And I'm so glad for every single photo that we got. I'm so glad for every single video footage, everything we have of that day so that for the rest of my life, I can go back and relive it and dive back into that day. Yeah, 1,000%. Spare no expense. You can never go back and be like, oh, fuck, I wish. And people took videos of the speeches. I watch those speeches all the time. I go back and I'm like, I want to relive my brother's speech or my mom's speech or whatever. Like, it's, yeah, get everything.
And I think just, yeah, that spare no expense to a point. We don't want to add extra stress.
Oh, yeah.
And some couples are just like, nah, no way, I'm not interested at all. And then it's not a thing for them to get. But for the people that are on the fence, that's what I always say. I'm going to do less of something else because this is the keepsake.
That's the thing. And I think like you were saying before, if you can let go, because honestly, the styling was beautiful. I'm so happy for the way everything looked. But truthfully, I spent so much time being like, God, what color should the napkins be? Which is so not my personality. But I just was like, this is really going to matter to me. Did not matter to me at all. I didn't think about the napkins very much. Didn't think about like whatever. Those things honestly make it feel like you, but also don't get too caught up in that stuff. Get caught up in you being comfortable on the day. So yes, that was another thing that was so important to us because my husband is a bit on the shy side and whatever. Finding a photographer that he felt really comfortable in front of was also such a miracle and so good. And you too, like Cal loved you from the second we talked to you and like, felt so comfortable with you. The fact that there were people around us who were so wonderful and like, felt like people we would be friends with just normally, not like, who is this like random person screaming at me to pose for this picture? That was way more important than the napkins. Yeah.
There was a bit of footage that I saw of you just holding on to Tennille, just having the biggest moment together. It was so beautiful.
I love that woman.
And you hear it all the time. Everyone says, get a team that was for you. But honestly, it's for a reason because it's the most intimate day and your emotions are so heightened. And like you said earlier, you need people that are rock solid. You need people to guide you because people forget how to be a human on the day. I find that bridesmaids like to have rehearsals the day before because they forget how to walk and they're so nervous.
I forgot how to walk. I forgot how to walk for sure.
It's so important when you're freaking out to have that support around you to hold you and guide you through it. Like, Neil would have been like, all right, this is what we're doing. Let's get the shot and not fluff about and waste too much time on things. They're professionals. They know what to do in all areas of the wedding. The staff, the coordinator, the photographer, video, everybody has their role and having that team is just so important.
It was everything. And at my brother and sister-in-law's wedding, their photographer was such a dick and really weird and made the whole experience. I mean, no, that wedding was God tier. It was amazing. But the experience of like the photos beforehand, everyone was like, am I in a fight with this man? Like, what is this vibe? It was so awkward. So that was like a learn from my mistake. For me, I was like, okay, it is so important that the photographer, because they are, and there is that hour where you're just essentially, for me and Kat was like, let's go make out in a field and have someone photograph us. Like, that's wild. Like, when are you ever doing that? But like, it didn't even feel weird. Honestly, we loved Tennille so much and Callum felt so comfortable with her. I felt so comfortable with her that you want to be able to, those photos really feel so real, so not staged to me. And I think the only way we were able to achieve that was because we felt normal. We felt like ourselves in front of her. We weren't feeling, oh God, we've got to be on. It was just like, she was just there photographing us. There's going to be like an hour where you go off and take photos or whatever. It's kind of like, really? I have to leave the party for an hour? That was also, maybe that's the thing that took me by surprise. I was really bummed by that. I was like, what are we going to do for an hour? Like, whatever. Having that alone time, just me and Callum, to be just together and making out in a field was amazing. It was so beautiful. And it really grounded me of like, whoa, like that just happened. We just got married. And you're still in the midst of this high energy experience, but you get to have this little golden hour moment together where you're just with each other and things slow down for a second. And it was so special. I loved it.
And that's the thing, just taking those moments throughout the day, the bridal photos, 5 minutes here and there, helps pinpoint those moments of the day. So because as soon as it all starts to happen, it just goes so quickly. And when you look back, those quiet moments throughout is what makes you remember those points. Your insight is absolutely invaluable. And I just love you to bits. I love your energy and I'm obsessed with you. Thank you for coming on board. I'm so grateful to you.
Kiera, I'm obsessed with you back. You saved our wedding a million times over, and we just love you so much. I recommend you to everyone I speak to. You're my hero. And thanks for making our wedding feel like ours. And you just, my hero.